Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Hopefully our sound is good. We'll do a little adjusting here if we
Okay.
need to.
I won't worry about it.
Okay. And there are times where I feel like it's not on, but it is.
Okay. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'll let you guys worry about
And
it.
I can already hear you.
You can hear me? Okay. Oh. No, something just happened. I have a green background now. Ooh, I'm not supposed to talk.
Yeah, I'll go see if I can. So that grassy littleness to the side is a little. I think we've got something double layered back there. Will that be okay?
Oh, it's fine.
People are reporting that they're having trouble finding parking.
Okay.
There must be an event at the junior high, but people are saying that they're walking from 3 blocks away.
Oh, so we better wait.
Okay.
Just maybe a couple minutes.
Okay.
Thanks.
It's hard to hear. The videos are good.
Candace drove over.
Yeah, she was there.
So I'm sure you're not surprised that parking is a little bit of an issue. And so feel free to talk amongst yourselves. Y'all can pick whatever topic you'd like. But talk amongst yourselves for a couple more minutes. If you're like me and it's like at 6 we need to be starting, we're just going to give folks a couple more minutes to make the long walk from, Main Street or wherever they're coming from. Sorry to interrupt your conversations, but we'll give it a couple more minutes. But we are aware of the time if you are time conscious.
Okay, now I am going to ask him to change it.
I'm going to
Turn
your
me back
microphone and then thank you.
Thank you, Ken. I really do appreciate it.
All right, I've received several thumbs up, and I did get okay from Sarah and Laura out in the hallway, and if they say it's okay, then I think it's okay. I'm just the pastor. Good evening, and welcome to Community United Methodist Church. I'm Reverend Ken Daniel, the pastor here, and I'm delighted to have you here with us. At Community United Methodist Church, we hold creation care as a core value, reflecting the deep commitment of the United Methodist Church. Within our Mountain Sky Conference, our creation care team actively promotes environmentally friendly practices, including the adoption of solar power, efficient recycling, and community engagement. In our organizing documents of the United Methodist Church, we ask for the continued call for bold leadership and advocate for policies rooted in justice and sustainability. We understand that God is calling each of us to respond, and that as a denomination, we cannot hope to transform the world until we change our ways of being in. Here at Community United Methodist Church, our dedicated creation care team that's connected across Pagosa is actively involved both within our church community and beyond, fostering awareness and implementing initiatives that directly benefit our local area. We appreciate your donation to keep our programs going. Also, there's a sign-up sheet if you'd like to be involved with the Pagosa-wide creation care group. As part of Earth Day celebrations, we're honored to have Dr. Terry Root joining us tonight to share insights on the critical topic of planet versus plastics. Dr. Terry L. Root is Professor Emerita at Stanford University. She was a lead author of the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change fourth assessment report that in 2007 was co-awarded the Nobel Prize with Vice President Al Gore. Also, she was the lead author for the third assessment report in 2001 as a review editor for the fifth assessment report, 2014. In addition to other honors, Dr. Root was awarded the Spirit of Defenders Award for Science by Defenders Wildlife in 2010, and a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016 for the conservation organization Point Blue. She serves on the National Audubon Board of Directors from 2010 to 2019, and currently serves on the Board of Defenders of Wildlife, Caribbean, depending on where you come from, and is on numerous science advisory boards, including the Renewable Energy Wildlife Institute. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Root.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I really want to tell you thank you for coming in on such a beautiful day. You guys could be out hiking right now, and I really appreciate you being here. For those of you who saw my talk, whenever it was, on climate change, that was a pretty tough talk to listen to. I have to warn you, this one is even harder. Because look at what we've done to this poor European stork. It's having to live its life, at least it has its wings out, it can fly, but it's having to live its life. Its bill is out so it can feed, but it's having to live its life behind a plastic bag because it can't get it off. That's the tough part. Next slide, please. This is what my talk is going to be about. I'm going to talk first about the facts of plastics. And the facts of plastics are a little shaky, I have to admit that. If you're coming from the plastics group or the oil companies, they say there's not much plastics. If you're coming from Greenpeace, they say there's a bunch. So what I have tried to do is only take numbers from real scientific, reliable sources. So if some of the numbers don't jive with the numbers that are in your head, that's why. And they are changing all the time, and I realize that. So after the facts about plastics, we're going to talk about wildlife and plastics. I got into this business of climate change. This plastics is really a climate change issue. Because I'm a biologist and I work on how plants and animals are affected by climate change. So I have to talk to you about the wildlife and what we're doing with the plastics. And then you all are going to be really depressed, but hold on, because number 3 is what we all must do. And the thing is, not only does our government have to do things, which it's doing, we ourselves can do a lot, and that can make us feel really good. Next slide, please. So in 1907, this guy, Leo Baekeland, invented Bakelite. I remember Bakelite. I bet the people who are as old as I am remember Bakelite, certainly. I can remember my mother cooking dinner on Bakelite plates. Anyway, in 1907, he actually figured out the first fully synthetic plastic polymer. 1907. Next slide, please. And then Walter Carruthers, he was a DuPont chemist. He then developed nylon in 1939. Now, nylon took off a lot faster than plastic did because we were in World War II, and they could make parachutes, tents, things like that out of it. So nylon just went bonkers really fast. Plastics, it took till about 1950. Next slide, please. Now, since 1950, and that's why I use 1950, that's when it really started. Since 1950, we have created 9.1 billion tons of plastic since 1950. Now, I have trouble with big numbers, so what did I do is I converted it into Empire State Buildings. So if you take the weight, the estimated weight, of the Empire State Building, 9.1 billion tons will make 24,700 Empire State Buildings. That's how much plastic we have actually made. Next slide, please. So this is now showing you on the x-axis is time, on the y-axis is millions of tons, and you can see in 1950 it basically started, then it's going up and up and up and up and up. The latest numbers, reliable numbers that I could come up with was 2021. You would think we would have 2022 and 2023, but I don't think they're reliable yet. Anyway, so you can see how it's gone up. It has really escalated. Now, the projections for 2050, next slide please, is 1,500 million tons in 1 year. Holy mackerel. The trouble is, we're supposed to be carbon neutral by 2050, right? That's going to be very hard to do if we're going to have 1,500 million tons of plastic, because, next slide please. Oh, okay. Because we get our oil, we get our plastic from oil. So about 4 to 7% of our oil that we mine actually makes plastics. And for every pound of plastic that we have, think of how many plastic shopping bags that is. 1 pound of plastics, we put 6 pounds of CO2 up into our atmosphere. That's why this is a climate change issue. So since 1950, we've put about 55 billion tons of CO2 in the atmosphere. Now, CO2 stays in our atmosphere for 1,000 years. Every single one of those pounds, of those 55 billion tons, is still up there. And that's what's helping to heat our planet. It takes 1,000 years to get that CO2 out of the atmosphere. So by 2050, if you add up all the numbers, we're going to have 750 billion tons of CO2 up in our atmosphere. Holy moly, that really is going to warm our climate. It's not good. Next slide, please. So now, of this 9.1 billion tons of plastics that have been made since 1950, 8% is still in use. Think about your dishwasher. my dishwasher at least, is made out of plastic. I mean, our washing machines have pieces that are made out of plastic. Our cars have things that are made out of plastic. So that's what's going on here. 8% has been incinerated. Oh my God, you do not want to incinerate plastics. You remember the train derailment in Ohio? They had 3 cars of polyvinyl chloride, right? They were being transported to make plastics. They didn't know what to do with these these cars that had fallen over, so they caught them on fire. And now, the people that live around there are suing specifically because of the contamination due to that burning of the polyvinyl chloride. You do not want to burn plastics. You really don't. 9% has been recycled. Remember that number, that's going to come up later. 75%. That leaves 75% of the plastics. Where are they? Landfills and the oceans. Holy moly, that's a lot. We're talking about 9.1 billion tons and 75% of that. That's a lot that is just sitting out there in our landfills or in our oceans. Next slide, please. Next slide. It's not going, there it goes. Okay, the things that are the worst are the single-use plastics, and more than 50% of the plastic that has been made since 1950 is single-use plastics. So the worst ones are plastic wrap, and we'll talk about other things you can use. Plastic bottles, there are other things that you can use. Plastic straws, you just have to remember to ask your waitress not to give you straws. Plastic bags, there's other things we can use for that. And cigarette butts. People forget the cigarette butts. Cigarette butts are huge. There's 6 companies, and I can remember the 3 of them. One is R.J. Reynolds, and they're because of the cigarette butts, and Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Actually, Coca-Cola is the worst, then Pepsi, then R.J. Reynolds. Anyway, they are the ones, the 6 companies, there's 3 other companies, I'm sorry, I don't remember what the other 3 are, have made a quarter of our plastics since 1950. Just those companies, a quarter, 6 companies. Now, I have microfibers in there. The reason for that is because microfibers are huge. Microfibers are coming from the nylon that I talked about before, but it's also coming from rayon, polyester, on and on and on. We'll talk about that too. Microfibers are a real problem, and I could do an entire talk on microfibers. But what I want to do is concentrate on the plastics and the microplastics. The plastics basically break down into little bitty tiny pieces, and they're microplastics, and if they get even smaller, then they're nanoplastics. But anyway, I wanted to put a shout out for microfibers because microfibers are important, and there's things we can do about that too. Next slide, please. Okay, shoppers around the world use about 5,600 billion single-use plastic bags each year. Think about that a minute. That's a lot. That's about 9.6 million plastic bags used each minute around the world. How can we be using that? What is wrong with our species? We can't be using that much, but we are. Annually, about 700 plastic bags are used per person worldwide. Per person. That includes babies that aren't using plastic bags. So some people are using an awful lot of plastic bags. 700 per person annually. 700, wow. But there are ways that we can stop that. And Ireland has actually worked on it and has charged 15 cents for a plastic bag, and it dropped the use of plastic bags by 90%. So there are things we can do, and it really does work. Next slide, please. Now this is the US, only the US. This is the average annual plastic bag usage in the US per person. And per person in the US, we use a little bit more than half of what the global world people do. We use 365, it's an easy number to remember, one per day for every American. That means little kids. Why are we using so many plastic bags? We don't need to be doing that. It all adds up to 122 billion bags per year in the US. Come on, we don't have to do that. We can change that. We just need to have the political will to change it, and we can. Next slide. Now, 12 states have banned plastic bags. Woohoo! Colorado's done it. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo! That's fabulous. It really is wonderful. I'm from New Mexico. New Mexico's not there. Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully it will be soon. The city of Santa Fe has done it, but the county hasn't done it. So when I go shopping in the city, I don't have to use plastic, well, I don't use plastic bags, but I'm not even offered plastic bags. When I go in the county, I'm offered plastic bags. Every single time I said, why in the world would I want a plastic bag? I'm not very nice. But there are 15 states in the US that have banned the banning of plastic bags. Banned the banning of plastic bags. I used to live in one, Florida. Florida. Texas. Look at the states. Do you see kind of a pattern there? Shh, I didn't say that. Anyway. Yeah, there's a problem there. Anyway, here is Florida, a peninsula. All this stuff goes out into the oceans, and they have banned the banning of plastic bags. So, Boca Raton, no, I don't remember, no, it was Coral Gables, I'm sorry, Coral Gables, the city of Coral Gables said, I don't care what our governor says, we're going to ban plastic bags. The governor took it all the way to the Florida Supreme Court, and the governor won. The cities do not have the right in Florida, and probably all these other states, to ban plastic bags. Now, you can get individual stores to do it, but if you lobby, at least in Florida, if you lobby a store to ban plastic bags, you can get arrested. That was true in Sarasota. I know that for a fact. So anyway, we have states that are reasonable, and we have states that are bonkers, right? We got to do something about that, but we will. Okay, next slide. Okay, now, Americans have purchased 470 plastic bottles per person in 2021. Again, that's when I had good data. All those pink and in the green box too, that all adds up to 470 bottles. Of those 470 bottles that were bought per person in the US in 2021, about 40 of them were recycled. 40 of them. Okay, we're not doing a very good job of recycling. But of those 40 that were recycled, you think, shoo, at least 40 were recycled. Do you know how many were actually used in the recycling? 0.75, not even one whole bottle. 2% of the 8.3% were used, because you get all of these bottles that have been recycled, and so many of them are too old and brittle, so you've got to throw those away. They're dirty, you got to throw those away. Only 0.75% of a bottle is used in recycling. Now, is that our fault? Or is it the oil companies and the plastics for actually generating those bottles? I want to put that kernel in your head. Next, oh, wait, can you go back? 156.2 million plastic bottles were used in the U.S. in 2021. That's crazy. That's absolutely ludicrous. We don't need to do that. Plus that, you're getting microplastics every time you drink out of a plastic bottle. And why in the world would you want that? Use your drinking water unless you lived in Flint or someplace like that. That's different. Or when I go down to Mexico, I try to buy bottled water in a glass bottle, or I buy Coca-Cola in a glass bottle. But anyway, there are times when you have to revert to plastic bottles, but not as often as this. Okay, next slide. Okay, and this is my slide that says, we have all been duped. I promise you, we have all been duped. My husband still has a hard time with this one. He says, he'll look on the bottom of something and says, well, it has a little triangle that goes like this, so that means it's recyclable. No, it is a brilliant scheme by the plastics company or the oil companies to market their plastic. All it is a way of saying plastic, there's a law. You have to say what kind of plastic it is. Is it a 1? Then it's a PET or a PETE. Is it a 2? Is it a 3? Is it a 6? Polystyrene is number 6. I guarantee that's not recyclable, guaranteed. Anyway, people think that the little triangles means that it's recyclable. Wrong, 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 wrong. It is a way to dupe us into thinking it's recyclable. The only ones that really are recyclable in the US are 1 and 2, the 2 I have circled up there. That's it. Because they're the only ones that we have buyers for. So in Santa Fe, 3, 4, and 5 are also collected. They're thrown in the landfill. They're sorted, I hope, and 1 and 2 are taken out. So why are they doing it? Maybe they're trying to teach us how to recycle. I don't know why they do that. They should just say recycle 1 and 2. And you guys have trouble with water. We have trouble with water. I say, if something you're recycling is dirty and it's going to take a lot of water to wash it, throw it away. The water is more valuable than the recycled bottle. I showed you, less than 1 bottle is actually used in recycling. So a lot of people will put their recycles in their dishwashers to wash them out. I don't do that. I guess I should, but I don't do that. But if something like a peanut butter jar that comes in plastic, I literally, even though it's a number 2, I literally throw it away because it takes too much water in Santa Fe to wash it out. Next slide, please. Okay, so now I said there's how much is in the oceans, 19 to 23. There's a range in there. I really don't know what the number is. Let's just guess it's about 20. 20 million tons of plastic are dumped into the ocean. They're dumped on purpose, and they're dumped by the wind blowing stuff in there. It's estimated that by 2030, that's not very far away, that we are going to be dumping 53 million tons in the oceans. Our oceans can't survive that. There's no way. But here we go again with big numbers. So let's assume it's 20 million tons of plastic in 2016. Next slide. 20 million tons of plastic in the ocean per year. Let's assume that we have 20 million tons of Lego bricks. Okay? Now, we could build 43.5 life-size Empire State Buildings out of those Legos. That's how much is going into the ocean annually. Holy mackerel, that's a lot. How can our oceans survive it? And now we're heating it, the oceans so hot, and we're making the oceans more acidic, and we're giving them plastics. How can they survive? What is wrong with us? There's something wrong with us. Next slide. So here are the different gyres, and there's actually 5 gyres, and all a gyre is if you look at the ocean currents, they go around in a circle. And so when something gets trapped in the middle of that, it's hard to get it out. The biggest plastic location in the oceans is the North Pacific Gyre, and I was going to remember how many Colorados it is. Shoot, I don't remember now. It's equivalent to Texas and another state. Maybe it's Alaska, it could be. Anyway, it's huge. It is huge. The other thing is it's not just floating on the top, it goes all the way, it's basically a column. So to clean it out is going to be excruciatingly difficult. If it were all floating, sure, you can just go out there and clean it off the top. But all this stuff that's down below, and it breaks into microplastics, and it breaks into nanoplastics, and basically plastic doesn't disintegrate. I mean, doesn't biodegrade. It just breaks up into little tiny pieces and little tiny pieces and little tiny pieces and little tiny pieces, and that's what's going into us. Next slide. Next slide. Uh-oh, there it is. Microplastics have been found in the Antarctic sea ice in 2009. Next slide. Microplastics have been discovered near the summit of Mount Everest in 2020. Basically, microplastics are everywhere around the world. And they've even just been found in the Mariana Trench. Can you believe that? That's amazing to me. Next slide. They're in all of our veggies, they're in all of our grain, they're in all of our meat. And I just learned that Dow Chemical has decided that they wanted to have fertilizer be timed release for the farmers. They couldn't figure out how to make it timed release, so they have decided to cover their fertilizer in plastic. I'm not kidding. And so they have these little bitty pieces, and they cover them in plastic, and then they spread them out on the fields, and the sun breaks down the plastic and releases the fertilizer. Guess what else it releases? It's going in our food. Next slide. Each of us in this room, each week consumes the equivalent of a credit card worth of plastic. And this is an old slide, so it's probably more than that now. And I say, no, I'm not. I have a really good diet. Yes, I am. It's in our veggies, that's what I eat. It's in our grain, that's what I eat. It's in fish, that's what I eat. That's what's happening. Even though I don't use plastic cups or plastic containers or anything like that, it still is in what I'm eating. It also is in the air that I'm breathing. And you guys too. Next slide. Microplastics are found in human. So over on the left-hand side is a picture of a liver, and the green things are microplastics. On the right-hand side is a human kidney. The green things are microplastics. It's also now been found in lungs, spleen, blood, brain, placenta, and mother's milk. Basically, it's everywhere inside of us. Next slide. They did a study, and this is actually a brand new study that just came out. They looked at about 260 people that had plaque in their arteries, and they had to have surgery to clear it all out. In 60% of the gunk that they cleared out, the plaque that they cleared out, in 60% of the people, it had microplastics in it. And then what they found is of those people, there were 60%. Of those people, the 60%, they had a 4 times more likely to have a heart attack, a stroke, or die in 34 months than the other people, the other 40%. So we say, well, you know, we don't have to worry about plastics inside of us. I don't think that's true, because it's causing sharpness. The sharpness in the plaque is there. The other thing you have to realize is that we're warm, and you have microplastics in you, and the warmness causes the chemicals to come out of the plastics. So now we have polyvinyl chloride, a carcinogen, going through our blood, other kind of toxics going through our blood from the plastics. This is not good. And I think we're going to find out as we go forward how bad this actually is. Next slide. In North America, the infants themselves are exposed to about 1 million microplastic particles per day. Holy moly. We need to do something about that. That is for sure. Because you really can have a lot of toxics in a very, very young human. Next slide. Okay, let's talk a little bit about sea salt. They did a study a long time ago. This is when I just first started talking about plastics, so this was probably 9 years ago, 7 years ago, something like this. They did a study, and they got salt from all over the country. They got at least one thing of salt from every single state, and some of them they got more. They tested them all to see, and it was all sea salt, sorry, it was all sea salt. They tested them all, and they didn't have to do statistics, because 100% of the sea salt had microplastics in it. So from now on, no more buying chocolate with sea salt, no more buying chips with sea salt, no more buying crackers with sea salt, no more buying sea salt for sea salt. It's not what you want to do. Actually, one of the first times I gave this talk, there was a woman in the audience that she just was jumping up and down. I said, yeah, what's up? And she says, I buy really, really, really expensive sea salt, so I know I don't have any microplastics in it. I said, well, I would bet you any amount of money that it does. About 3 days, 4 days later, I get an email from this woman, and she says, my God, you were right. She took her very, very, very expensive sea salt, put it in a bowl, dumped it in, put water in, let the salt dissolve. What was left on the bottom? Microplastics. So I don't care how expensive your sea salt is, you don't want to eat it. And it's hard to do. I love salted chocolate, and almost all the salted chocolate is sea salted chocolate. So anyway, don't do that, okay? Next slide. The other thing is that you guys have seen these tea bags. They're so expensive and they're wooey wooey. Well, don't buy wooey wooey tea bags anymore, okay? They're called PET tea bags. You will get over 1 million microplastics and nanoplastics if you put that in hot water. Don't do that. Can you do that? Of course you can. Just don't buy it anymore. Next slide. The other thing is it's all in the seawater. It's all in the seawater. So if you have things that are filtering, no oysters, no clams, shrimp, you gotta be careful about what you're eating. So, and also, you don't want to eat those things that eat filter feeders, right? Like sardines. I know you guys love sardines, but you can't eat it. They're full of microplastics. Next slide. Okay, So that's about plastics. Now let's talk about wildlife and plastics. When I was working on my master's degree, so that was 82 to 87, I'm an avid bird watcher, and I went out to California, and we went on a pelagic to go see birds in the ocean. And we saw a cormorant exactly like this. Instead of being one thing, it was one of those, you know, those beer can things that have the 6 dealies? Well, it had a 6-can dealie on it. And it was in the middle of the ocean. It had broken its wing. It was emaciated. It had such an emotional pull on my heartstrings. And so we caught it in the net, and we all agreed, we were all bird watchers, we all agreed that we had to euthanize this bird. And so we put it under, euthanizing a big bird is not easy. Euthanizing a small bird is not that hard. But this big a bird is hard to do. We decided to put its head under the water and drown it. Well, it wouldn't drown. And then I said, it's because its wing is broken, it's breathing through its bone of its wing, because they use their bones, their hollow bones, to store oxygen. Anyway, so then we had to put the whole bird underneath. We couldn't do that. Somebody had to jump in the water. It was very traumatic for me. Anyway, we did end up killing it. This guy has no hope unless somebody comes along and cuts that band, because it can't eat. There's no way. So anyway, I want to talk to you now about sea turtles, seals and sea lions, seabirds, fish, and cetaceans. All of those groups are greatly affected by plastics. Next slide. You can see the difference, but a turtle can't. So most of the turtles have plastics in them. Next slide. Plastics are in greater than 90%, holy moly, 90% of the loggerhead sea turtle hatchlings, they're babies. They already have plastics in them. And loggerhead sea turtles is one of the highly endangered sea turtles around. If 90% of the hatchlings already have plastics in them, that doesn't bode well for the species. Next slide. Seals and sea lions. This poor sea lion female, can you imagine trying to live like that? And we did that. We did that. Why do we have the right to cause that much trauma to a wild animal? This one actually was lucky. The ones that I'm showing you are lucky because they've been caught and it's been cut off. Anyway, that one was cut off. Next one. Oops, too far, too far. Back up, back up. Wrong way, wrong way. Wrong way, wrong way. There we go. Perfect, thank you. Okay, next slide. So this is another sea lion, and when you go to California and you see the sea lions, I guarantee you, you will always see a sea lion that has something around its neck. They're playful. They like to play with things. They play with this stuff, and they get it stuck on them, and they can't get it off. Next slide. Estimated 90% of all sea birds have eaten plastics. Next slide. This is 98% of the albatrosses that have been studied have ingested plastics. There's a man named Chris Jordan, and he made us a movie, and the movie is called Midway, Message from the Gyre. And Midway is very close to the North Pacific Gyre. And what Chris did, he's a wonderful man, he went out and he wanted to film baby albatrosses in Midway Island. He gets to Midway Island, there's the babies that he found. The parents are very, very good parents, and they would go and catch prey on the ocean and bring it back to the babies. They didn't know that plastic had no nutritive ability. They were feeding them, well, you can see bottle tops and lighters, Bic lighters and pens and all sorts of things. The babies starved. This is not just one baby. In his, I know it sounds morbid, it is a fantastic movie. If you have the chance to see Midway, Message from the Gyre, but he shows this, he backs up and he shows this huge big rookery of albatross and all the dead babies that look just like that. We did this. We did this. Next slide, please. May I have a plastic bag? Already inside. So let's talk a little bit about microplastics and macroplastics in fishes. Well, in the North Atlantic, the studies have shown time and time again that over 90%, and in this particular study it was 94%, of the fish in North Atlantic have microplastics or microplastics in it. This study was only on microplastics. Then the study beneath that is about macroplastics, and that says that near the North Pacific Gyre, the macroplastics in the fish is 35%. I am floored by that. I actually thought that would be a lot higher. I'm really surprised by that. But next slide will show you what I mean by macroplastics. Next slide. There's a macroplastics. So you can actually see them. Those are good. You can clean them out. It's the microplastics that are in the flesh of that fish that you can't clean out, and that's what we all eat when we eat fish. Next slide, please. 100%, again, you don't have to do statistics, 100% of the sperm whales that have been necropsied, that means autopsied but not on a human. A necropsy is just an autopsy on an animal. They've been necropsied, 100% of them have had plastic bags in their stomachs. There was a sperm whale, a young male, that washed up someplace in Europe, and I'm sorry, I don't remember where it was. And it washed up about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now. It had 220 pounds of plastic bags in its stomach. 220 pounds. No wonder it died. Next slide, please. 640,000 tons of fishing equipment are lost or abandoned annually. That's incorrigible. We need to have a law. We need to have some kind of treaty that says if you don't want your fishing equipment, don't just throw it overboard and let it float around. It'll do that. Can you imagine the poor whale that's having to live with that on it? It's really sad. It's really sad. Next slide, please. So it's not just in the oceans. This is a black oyster catcher in California, and it feeds by pushing its bill into the ground like this. Well, it pushed its bill in, it got caught on that, and now it can't feed anymore. So it died of starvation. When I lived in Florida, I had Florida sandhill cranes. They're smaller cranes. Normal sandhill cranes are about this big. Florida sandhill cranes are about this tall. I had a Florida sandhill crane that brought their babies. Our land was safe, and so it brought its baby, the mother and the dad brought the baby to our area to feed because it was safe. One day, I noticed that the male had a plastic bag stuck to its lower bill. So I called Wildlife Habitat, you know what I'm saying, and asked them, what can I do? And they said, we give you permission to feed this crane, which was illegal, but they gave me permission. So he said, feed the crane and put it in your hands, and just sit down and put it in your hands, and it'll take about a week and a half, until it'll finally come and feed. And when it feeds from your hand, grab the plastic bag with all of your power, not let go. Okay, I can do this. So I would go out. My husband has pictures of me sitting there with corn, cracked corn in my hands like this, waiting for these cranes to come to me. And after about 9 days or so, he came over. I said, Terry, you can do this. Terry, you can do this. Terry, you can do this. And he starts pulling the cracked corn out of my hands. So I grab the plastic bag. He goes like this. I go like this and let go of it all. I didn't get it off. So I called back the rehabbers and I said, now what do I do? Start over. So I went back out and I sat there and had him, and it took longer this time because he was afraid of me. And so finally he came and he took it out of my hands. I said, you're gonna do this. And so I grabbed it and I held on, and he went like this and I held on and I held on, and the damn thing wouldn't come off. And so I finally had to let go. But the next day, it was gone. So I loosened it enough that he was able to get it off. Woohoo! I felt so proud of myself. But oh man, that was traumatic. But anyway, this type of stuff happens. Next slide, please. Sorry for the story. I just love that story. Okay, here's one of those 6-pack things. Okay, anytime you have something that's circular, even the little bitty tiny holes that you use for your fingers, cut them open. You know, when you take a trash bag out and it has those handles that are in circles, cut them up. You put them in the trash can, cut them apart. You know the masks that we wear? Cut the ears thingies off. This poor, it's a red-eared slider. She did fine. I mean, she had babies, she had eggs, she had on and on and on. But she had to live like that. And we did that. Next slide, please. This is a wolf in India. Now, in India, they don't have dart guns, so they can't dart them. So they had to wait until this wolf got so emaciated and so weak. And then they got, I think it was 4, may have been 5, park rangers to corral it. They were able to catch it. They were able to pull the plastic bottle off of its head. They fed it and let it go, and it survived. But how many things like that have happened and have not survived? Next slide, please. So, what we all must do. This isn't a want to do. This is a what we must do. Next slide, please. No plastic grocery bags. You can use these. We all can use these. We can do that. They're canvas bags. You can wash them. We can all do that. The next thing is the produce bags. You go to the produce aisle and you put your apples in it. And I get to the produce aisle and I think, shoot, I forgot my produce bag. So what I do is I walk out to my car, pick up the produce bags, and come back in, and after about 4 or 5 times of forgetting my produce bags, I now remember them. But if you forget and you don't have a produce bag, you can get these anywhere, pretty much. Natural growers, is that what it's called? Yeah, natural groceries. They have these. Anyway, if you forget them, then use the same bag over and over again. Put the produce bag that you get at the store, the plastic one, in your canvas bag, and take it back in and use it again. So at least it's not one use. And I'm sorry, I'm having a hot flash. So, being a woman, you guys have no idea how easy you have it. Okay, no plastic drinking bottles, right? We all can do these. Why not? It keeps us from getting plastic inside of us. We can do these. They're metal, you can do it. Next slide, please. No other type of plastic bottles. Oh, Terry, how can you say that? no orange juice or milk. We can all go to a store and buy cardboard. I shop at Trader Joe's in Santa Fe. Sorry. And they only have milk, the kind of milk I want, in plastic. So I go to Natural Grocers and get the milk in cardboard. You can do that too. I promise you can. No detergent, shampoo, conditioner, lotion, deodorant, or any other plastic bottles. It's plastic lined, but actually it is recyclable. What he asked is, aren't the cardboards plastic lined? They're actually recyclable. At least they are supposedly. In Santa Fe, do I believe it? No, but that's what I'm told. Yeah. Cardboard that has in it, yeah. It's still better than plastic, in my opinion. Okay, so now, detergent. You can use this. It is detergent that comes and looks like this. For a light load, you put 1 in. For a heavy load, you put 2 in. It's wonderful. Or for detergent, you can also get Tide in a cardboard box. You can get OxiClean in a cardboard box. But you can get this, and it works real well. I promise you it does. You can get shampoo in a bar. I know it sounds weird, but it's really wonderful. It really is great. And I get this from a place called Peach Not Plastic, and this is what it looks like. It has this little indentation that fits nicely on your head, and it's so much fun. It's great. They also sell conditioner. This is their conditioner. I'll tell you a secret. I hate it. The only reason I bought this one is because I was giving this talk tonight. I have used their conditioner, and I don't like it. They have an indentation, and it feels good, but it still doesn't, I just don't like it. So don't yell at me. I still use a plastic bottle of conditioner. But anyway, I'm going to try this one again. I'm going to try it. But anyway, conditioner, lotion. Look at this. I have lotion in a can. Cans are recyclable. Deodorant. Here's the deodorant. You can get it from Free the Oceans. You all should go to the website, Free the Oceans. It is a great website, and it's a good cause. And you can get deodorant. This one I got from Trader Joe's, but this one I got from Free the Oceans. And it's in cardboard. Woohoo! Who knew? And other plastic bottles. Okay, next slide. So here's the True Earth. You can go online. You can actually get this from Amazon now, but I go to True Earth. OxiClean comes in a box instead of in a plastic bottle. You can use that. That works. Next slide, please. So here's my Tide 2 that comes in a box. The Ethnique is a shampoo and conditioner. The body lotion is in a jar, and there's the Free the Ocean. The other website that I want to push is ETEE. 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 It's a really fun one too. The other one that's really good is NWF, National Wildlife Foundation. Thank you, National Wildlife Foundation. And it's a good cause. Their things are a little bit more expensive, but it's a good cause. Next slide. Yes. Yes, they do. No straws, it's easy, you just have to remember. No plastic wrap, and don't use a Ziploc bag once. My husband will come in to me and he'll say, "Can I throw this one away yet?" when it has a hole in it. I use them over and over and over because I bought them a bazillion years ago and I'm not going to throw them away, so I use them. So here are silicone things that you can put stuff in. This works great for a sandwich, but I don't like to store food in it because it's hard to get in here and clean it out. I use these. My sister-in-law loves these. I like these, but anyway, it's your own, whatever you want to do. Dishcloth covers. Here. I use these. They come in different sizes. I actually don't like this particular one because they're exactly the same color, so I don't know which size I'm grabbing when I go to there's some that you can buy, and they're different patterns for different sizes. And then once a month, I just throw them in the washing machine. Woohoo! They have silicone dish bowl covers. They come in different sizes. Again, they're all the same color. The other thing that works is beeswax on cloth. And these ones come from Etee, E-T-E-E. And the big ones are this color. The medium-sized ones are this color. And the little ones are this color. And they're wonderful. They're beeswax cloth. Beeswax cloth. Huh? Oh, you can make them. It's really easy. But the only time they don't work is you take them out of the refrigerator and you take a little bit out of the bowl and you put it back on. Well, it's not supple anymore. So I just put it in the microwave for literally 5 seconds, and I nuke them for 5 seconds. They get pliable, and I can put them back on. So these are fabulous. Next slide, please. So here's an example. This is from NWF. Again, they use they're all the same color. It bothers me. The ones up there in the far right, high right corner, they're silicone and they just sit on top. I use those, and every time I put them in the refrigerator, I knock them off. So I finally have just stopped using them. I use these all the time, and the beeswax cloth. Those are the ones that I use primarily.
You can also stack your dishes on top.
On top. Yeah, put a plate on top of it. That's right. That's exactly right. Next slide, please. Okay, plastic garbage bags. Don't use plastic garbage bags. Use garbage bags that are biodegradable. A good company is Holy Scrap. They do things really well. Styrofoam. If somebody offers you a styrofoam, go like this to them. You should not have any styrofoam. You can get eggs in something else. You can get cups and glasses in something else. You know, the one that you usually get it from is you go to a restaurant and you want to take home a doggy bag. Inevitably, they will bring me a styrofoam thing. So what do? I literally carry this in the back of my car. And this is what I take. When I go to a restaurant, I know I'm not going to eat my whole meal. So I take this in, I put the rest of my meal in here, I plastic, and the top is plastic, but it doesn't touch the food, and I have it that way. So can you do that? You can do that too. You really can. You just have to remember, and I've done that before too. I say, okay, I want a doggy bag, and my container is out in the car. So I get up, I walk out. If you do that enough times, you'll remember to take it in when you go. Next slide, please. Microfiber dryer sheets. This is getting at the microfilaments. You don't want to use those. What you want to use is paper dryer sheets, and yes, they do make paper dryer sheets. It's by Mrs. Meyers. There you can get, if you insist on using a dryer sheet, use Mrs. Meyers. They're paper. What I use is the wool dryer balls. They're fabulous. These ones I actually don't like because they're all white, and so I lose them. You can get them on Free the Ocean in different colors. So they're turquoise and orange and pink. I can find those in my dryer, so that will work. Next slide, please. Yeah, don't use the dryer. That's the better thing to do. Exactly, that's the better thing to do. And when you're buying clothes and bedding, please, please, please don't buy rayon, nylon, polyester. Use linen, hemp, bamboo, cotton. You can do that. And people will say, yeah, but they wrinkle. I'm a 70-year-old woman. I love wrinkles. So come on, it's okay. It's okay. We can go out in wrinkly clothes, right? And if you really, really are upset about it, what you do is you put it in the dryer for three minutes, say, and pull it out, shake it hard, hang it up, and it's fine. It's fine. We just have to accept it. And we can do that. It's okay to have wrinkles. I got a lot of them, and I'm proud of every single one of them. So anyway, next slide. The other thing, I can't stress this enough. Anything that comes in a circle that is plastic, cut it open. If in doubt, cut it open. I really, really mean this. Because as the sea levels come up, we don't have this problem in Colorado, but in Florida, as the sea levels come up, they're going to inundate the landfills, and all those landfills are going to be out there, and all this stuff is not going to be cut open. We've got to cut open everything. So cut open the ear loops, cut open any six-pack things. We can all do it. It takes a second, and you can do it. Next slide, please. The main thing that I'm trying to tell you is notice all of the plastic that you use and do everything you can to decrease it, because it's going to help people in the future, and it's going to make us realize how much plastic is out there, and then we can start complaining to the oil lobbyists and the plastic lobbyers and say, we don't believe you anymore. We're tired of being duped. We really are tired of being duped. So you can do this too. Next slide. Thank you all for listening, and that's all my information if you need it. Oh, do we have time for questions? Pastor Ken? Hold on a minute. He's.
Yes, I have time for questions. Do you have time for questions?
I certainly do. Yes, sir.
Got one about recycling metal. You said that's recyclable. Is the aluminum recycling working better than the plastic?
What he's asking is, how about metals? The kind of metals that are aluminum cans, this is an aluminum can, are recycled, and it makes a huge difference. Aluminum foil, I don't know, in all honesty. You don't think so? It's not? Okay. So aluminum foil, you know what I do is I try very hard not to use much aluminum, but when I do use aluminum, I have bought it at, what's the name again? Natural Grocers? Natural Grocers. And they have recycled, reusable, what's it called?
They have all those containers that you were talking about.
Oh, they have containers that you can fill up, but they also have aluminum foil that is partially recycled aluminum. And I actually use that, but I try not to use aluminum foil. So anyway, hold on just a second. Go ahead.
Have you heard of technologies that, like I've heard of organisms that are now engineering to eat plastic?
Yes.
Other technologies that are going to be sweeping perhaps?
Yes. What he's asking about are microbes that eat plastics. They have microbes now that eat polystyrene, which is absolutely fabulous. It really is wonderful. They have microbes that eat other types of plastics. The thing is that they've done many, many studies, and many, many studies have shown that when you have an idea, the time it takes from getting that idea up to scale to be used is 30 years. 30 years. We don't have 30 years to be producing as much plastic as we are right now. So is it going to work in the far distant future? Yes, it will. At least I hope it will. I hope it will come up. They really eat plastics. There's a polystyrene one that I know it eats plastic, and there's one that eats the polyvinyl chloride in the plastics. Those two I know.
And they make the plastic go to something not harmful?
Good question. That I don't know. I know they eat it and they break it down. Now, what do they make it into? I haven't gone, sorry. I should have read it more. By next time, I'll know. Okay? Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
So I have two questions. Here in Colorado, aren't they phasing out styrofoam? Yes.
Are they? They're phasing out styrofoam? Woohoo!
And my second question, in Durango, isn't there you bring your own container and they'll pump it?
You, yes, and there are grocery stores where you take your container and you put shampoo in it or conditioner in it, and that's what my husband keeps saying to me to do because I hate the bar. He loves the bar conditioner. I hate it. He keeps saying, Terry, just take your bottle and squirt it into it and reuse that bottle. Yeah. Yeah, you can do all sorts of things, lotion and the like. So, go ahead.
I'm looking around the room to see that you are all as old as I am. And remember when we were kids and you could, in some places in the United States, milk bottles were returned and sterilized and reused, and Coca-Cola bottles also. A few years ago, you remember, there was a ballot initiative here in Colorado to reinstate that practice, and it failed because our state was heavily lobbied by American Cannon Beverage.
Yeah.
That's the Coors family.
Yeah.
And if there is a ballot initiative again, we should all work hard to make sure that passes. There's no reason we can't.
That's right.
sterilize and reuse
That's
those
right.
bottles.
Colorado can be a leader in this, and they
We're a
can.
leader in so many things.
That's right. So just go ahead.
You can get beer in growlers and take it back and refill it.
There you go.
That is true.
I also want to point out that Diane, raise your hand. She is finding signatures tonight for a ballot initiative on stopping the trophy killing of animals in Colorado. So please, if you haven't signed her petition, please go find Diane. She'll be right there afterwards. It has nothing to do with plastics, but it has a lot to do with our quality of life.
Before we leave the aluminum issue, and if someone out here knows more, please correct me. Bauxite, which is what is mined to make aluminum, is one of the dirtiest forms of mining
Yes,
that exists. In fact, I've read it is the dirtiest.
it is the dirtiest. I've read that too.
Pollution. And aluminum cans are 100% reusable, recyclable. They can be melted down, unlike plastic.
Unlike plastic.
Unlike plastic.
That's right.
Where if you
Once.
make something out of plastic, you lose, there's a loss. Okay?
That's right.
If you
It becomes brittle.
If you have 100 grams of plastic, you end up making something that weighs 70 grams or something, there's a loss. With aluminum, you get 100% return. So we should be emphasizing more often this
Aluminum.
recycling
Of aluminum.
particularly aluminum cans.
Absolutely.
Which are number one. And I don't really know anything wrong with the aluminum foil, so I'm a little bit.
I
off on
don't
that one.
I don't either.
Aluminum foil is made out of aluminum, as far as I know, it's 100% recyclable.
Because of the way it's pressed down and spread out, and it breaks down all the molecules and everything, so.
I need to
Center here in Archuleta County, we put aluminum foil in with
in
the
there.
cans.
You have to make sure it's clean though too. You know, I was just in San Diego, California, and my husband had never been to the zoo, so we went to the zoo, and I never buy any liquid. I always take my own because I'm worried about the plastic. They don't have plastic cans. They have aluminum cups. They serve Pepsi-Cola in aluminum cups. So my husband and I went around, it's embarrassing, we went around to all the trash cans and collected all the aluminum cans. We now have a set of 8 aluminum cups that we use all the time. It's wonderful. So anyway, aluminum, you can recycle. Don't ever throw your aluminum cans away, recycle them. Next question. Yeah.
It's not a question, but we ate at the senior center here in Pagosa today, and the head cook wanted me to tell everybody that starting next week, they will have switched over to doing all their Meals on Wheels and any to-go containers to cardboard.
Woohoo! That's huge. That is huge. So, yes, ma'am.
My question is, milk cartons, juice cartons, and Orgain, which I love, cartons. How much plastic is in this?
Good question.
Call it cardboard, but
They call it cardboard, but and in Santa Fe, it is supposedly recyclable. Do they recycle it? I don't know. Now, when I was in Florida, I don't know if this happens. I should have asked Diane before I stood up here. But in Florida, they would have these bins at the grocery stores where you could take your plastic bags back, right, and put them in the hoozy thingy. What's it? You have it here? Okay. One day, I happened to be at Publix, and the woman was taking all of those plastic bags. I thought, I'm going to watch. So I followed her. I literally followed her, very surreptitiously, but I followed her. And you know what she did with it? Put it in the trash. So it's making you feel good, right? But nothing's happening. I have my cousin's wife, who lives in Kansas City, Missouri. She actually collects those bags, cuts them into strips, and crochets them into big mats and gives them out for free to homeless people to sleep on. But she's stopped because she's made, I don't know, some thousands, I don't know how many, and she now can't get rid of them all. But anyway, so you get a plastic bag and somebody will say, oh, but I take it back. Big deal. They throw them away. So a lot of the things that we're being told are being recycled aren't. We're being duped. We're being duped. Louder.
I just read an article today, they tracked, ABC News tracked these bags at Walmart, and they were being shipped off to third world.
To where?
I can't remember the country, but
They were being shipped.
off, so they were out of sight, out of mind, they were ending up in the
That-
ocean, ending up
Yeah.
all over the place.
We used to ship all of our recycled plastics and such to China. And finally, China said, no more. I don't want any more. So I don't know where they're shipping the plastic bags to, but
They mentioned it, they tracked it, it was
I
a
don't,
long project, they were tracking these. I just
yeah.
can't remember.
Probably in Asia, yeah. So what we need to do is we need to just stop using plastics. And you guys, we can. We really can. It's kind of fun. I mean, you feel holier than thou when you take your armpit and use a cardboard deodorant. It really makes me feel good. So anyway, I know it sounds trivial, but if everybody did it, it would make a difference. And we need to help people realize how they're getting duped. And they really are being duped by the oil lobby, because that's a lot of oil, and by the plastic companies, and by Pepsi, Cola, R.J. Reynolds, on and on and on. Yeah.
When you mentioned the sea salt, it made me wonder, is regular salt?
Regular salt's fine. Regular salt's great. It's the sea salt that's bad. Yeah. Regular salt's fine. Okay.
I think it's kind of related in a way. You know, like if you change the oil on your car, the auto parts will accept it back.
Yep.
And I was asking, one of them here in town did that, and I found out what they do with it is not really recycle it, they burn it for heat in the winter. And I don't know how common that is.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know that. He's
Good, and then you start wondering, is it good?
he's saying that when you drain your engine oil and you take the old engine oil back to a car parts store, what they do is they actually burn it for heat. No, I didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's re-refined a lot.
They used to do that, but now the synthetics have taken over.
Oh.
Synthetic will
This-
not burn and it won't mix with the oil. So I don't know how common or how much they're doing
Okay.
I have been involved in that, and the guy who ran the machine said synthetic goes in there, just shuts it off.
Ah, interesting. So synthetic oil is not a good idea. So, yes, ma'am.
That's for you.
This is for me. Woohoo!
Conditioner is really, really nice.
Thank you. Earthling Company. She says the conditioner is wonderful. They have shampoo and conditioner. So try Earthling Company. The Earthling Company. So ETEE, Free the Oceans, and also on Amazon. I know you'll get plastic from Amazon when they ship it, but Peach Not Plastic is another one to try. And NWF, shopnwf.com is another one. Yes, ma'am.
I just remembered one other thing. We just got this toothpaste that's in aluminum. It's recyclable.
The aluminum that's your toothpaste?
You can roll it up.
Yeah.
Online.
See, you just have to explore. She's
David's.
it's what?
David.
David.com?
No, that's the name of the toothpaste.
Oh, that's the name of the toothpaste. It comes in aluminum. Woohoo! See?
It also uses hydroxide and stuff.
Terry, are you able to address, there's 8 or 10 states that require deposits on anything, aluminum, plastic. Are you able to address, you look at their roadways and they're nice and clean and beautiful.
The Michigan, when I lived in, yeah, when I lived in Michigan, when I lived in California, you would have a bottle and you would take it back and they would give you money.
And where are we adding a station to that? I know it's hard.
I have no clue. No clue. I don't even know about New Mexico, sorry, but I should. So, anyway, thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it.